Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Spending cuts announced as the Bahamas government tries to fix a massive fiscal deficit. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, July 28th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Bahamian Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has announced tough cuts in government spending as he embarks on a strategy to remedy the country's fiscal deficit. The deficit is projected to reach $500 million this year. In a national address, Minnis made it clear the government had to get its financial house in order. His administration has to borrow $722 million to finance its operations this year. We get more in this ZNS Network News report.
The Prime Minister said in his national address Wednesday night that it is time to reset our national course with a new era of reform and transformation. With that in mind, the Prime Minister admitted that he is not going to sugarcoat the medicine that his government will take to restore our fiscal good health.
One measure I announced this evening is that all government ministries will have expenditure cut by 10%. There will be no new public sector hiring at this time. We must get our financial house in order. We must reverse the arc of government deficit and debt. We will appoint a special committee to advise on state-owned enterprises with a view of reducing the burden of such enterprises on public finances. There will be no renewal of contracts for emoluments which exceed $100,000 per year. To further reduce expenditure, we will reduce the number of government vehicles. We are identifying loopholes so as to avoid repeating corrupt practices.
And speaking of corruption, the Prime Minister stated that he will not comment specifically on cases concerning alleged bribery and corrupt practices by public officials. But he did reiterate that individuals should be treated equally before the law.
If judicial or police officials do not have the requisite paperwork necessary to charge any citizen, regardless of standing in the country, that individual should not be charged until the appropriate time. If all people deserve to be treated equally before the law, I find it disturbing that some people believe that politicians in the Bahamas should be above the law and should not be held accountable for misfeasance or misdeeds while in office.
Then there's tourism. Prime Minister Minnis clarified that his government is not in the business of owning hotel businesses for any extended period of time. He also touted his recent visits to the Atlantis Paradise Island and Bahama resorts, pointing out that it is most important to our economy that both of these mega resorts succeed. Prime Minister Minnis also acknowledged addressing the needs of the more than 250 smaller and licensed properties in Nassau, Paradise Island, Grand Bahama, and our family islands.
And in Dominica, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt says the country recorded 2.8% economic growth in 2016 and it's on a path to prosperity. He made the declaration as he delivered a $918 million EC dollar budget to the Parliament on Thursday. Skerritt also said that the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is expecting the country's economy to grow even more this year by 3.1%. He noted that Dominica's growth experience is better than the rest of the Caribbean.
This is Dominica's moment, and we as a country must seize it. We could cash in the growth dividend of successful economic management with a broad expansion of existing spending programs. That would be far more easier, Madam Speaker. But this government is not in the business of sitting back and basking in its success. What we propose is a bold journey that begins this morning, Madam Speaker.
In his budget presentation, the Prime Minister told Parliament that total expenditure was projected at $930 million EC. The lion's share of the budget will go towards the Ministry of Finance, $241.9 million to be exact. Other ministries receiving significant allocations include the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Development, Health and the Environment, and the Ministry of Justice and National Security. Spiraling debt in some regional economies remains a major worry for the Caribbean Development Bank, and the CDB has warned that the efforts of some countries to tackle the problem are off track. According to Director of Economics, Dr. Justin Ram, Barbados is the most indebted country in the region, and there are strong signs that the Trinidad and Tobago economy is headed for trouble. He said the problem needs fresh, urgent action, and he lamented that regional governments may not be following the right examples. Dr. Ram stressed that some of the best lessons of debt recovery were in the region, pointing to economic development in Jamaica and Grenada. Meantime, the CDB says it will provide the initial capitalization for a multi-donor fund to improve the competitiveness of the cultural and creative industry sector in the Caribbean. The lending agency says it's making an initial contribution of $2.6 million to the establishment of the Cultural and Creative Industries Innovation Fund as a pilot intervention. The fund will support the development of the creative industry sector and encourage innovation, job creation, and improved enterprise sustainability by providing grants and technical assistance to governments, business support organizations, and academia that support the creative industry sector. It will also provide funding to creative and cultural entrepreneurs and micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in its member states. In Trinidad and Tobago, former High Court Judge Marcia Ayers Caesar is fighting to get her job back. She's claiming she was forced to resign, and she's suing the Judicial and Legal Service Commission and the President of Trinidad and Tobago. We get more in this CNews report.
Marcia Ayers Caesar says her removal as a High Court judge is unlawful and unconstitutional, as she was put under pressure to resign. On Thursday, her lawyer Ramesh Lawrence Miraj presented her case at the San Fernando Supreme Court. He explained what is at stake.
The case involves a very important principle, and that is why it can be regarded as a landmark decision or a landmark case. The case involves the issues concerning the independence of the judiciary and the security of tenure of judges.
He said removing a judge from office is not as simple as has been made out.
In the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, the independence of the judiciary is guaranteed. And you would have heard that I read from Section 137 of the Constitution. So when a person is a judge, and this person was sworn in as a judge, she started to function as a judge, she got an instrument as a judge. So when a person is a judge, you cannot remove that person from office unless you follow a certain procedure. And it involves that issue, and it involves an issue whether you can put pressure upon a judge to resign. And if the judge signs a resignation, is that a resignation in effect for you to be removed from office?
Mr. Miraj stated that his case turns on the idea of constructive dismissal.
I've cited a case to show that even if you have a person who has resigned from his office in the private employment, but he was put under pressure to resign, that is a constructive dismissal. And so there's a principle of law known in the law as constructive dismissal or constructive removal from office. So that is why we are saying that even if the applicant in this case wrote a letter of resignation, and, but its circumstances was such that she had various options which meant that she was put under pressure to make that decision, it is a constructive dismissal.
Mr. Miraj said he is asking that Marcia S. Caesar be reinstated and compensation be paid for the time period of the case. The attorneys for the Judicial and Legal Service Commission and the President have asked for time to make submissions, and this was granted by the judge.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister suggests hotel workers should form their own union. Stay with us.
60 years ago, we started greatness.
Now it's time to celebrate greatness. Antigua's Carnival 2017, July 28th to August 8th, celebrating great pageantry, mass, pan, calypso, soca, celebrating culture, celebrating the Caribbean's greatest summer festival, Antigua's 60th anniversary carnival, powered by Flow.
My name is Tishana Kurt, and I can't wait to represent my country, Guyana, at the Caribbean Junior Monarch Competition in Barbados on the 20th of August, 2017.
For more information, visit our website www.caribbeanjuniormonarch.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the CJMC.
Do you want a real Barbadian experience with peace and tranquility? A home away from home feeling? Come and stay at Best E Villas. We offer 2 amazing locations to choose from, Prospect St. James or Christchurch. Plan a staycation for your anniversary, birthdays, summer or winter breaks, or any special event. Best E Villas is located in close proximity to our lovely beaches. Call us now at 246-425-9751 or visit us at bestevillas.com and make your booking for the best in villas.
Welcome back. Hotels in Antigua and Barbuda have been urged, hotel workers that is, in Antigua and Barbuda have been urged to protect their interests by breaking away from existing trade unions to establish their own. The suggestion has been made by Prime Minister Gaston Brown. Addressing Parliament on Thursday, he made reference to the recent announcement by Sandals Grand Resort of its closure for several months to carry out maintenance work. According to the Prime Minister, the Cabinet had been pleading with Sandals to reduce its closing period so it did not extend beyond the end of this year. The initial time frame set by the hotel was 5 months, but after talks with the government and the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, Sandals said it would work towards completion within 3 months. The Prime Minister expressed dissatisfaction with the entire process of negotiations and criticized the hotel for giving the union credit for making the decision to reduce the project time. He contended that it was the very same proposal he had made even before the union and hotel officials met. Brown also accused Sandals Resorts International of concealing millions of dollars in profits from the government. We get more in this report from Garfield Burford of ABS Television.
A singular focus for the emergency sitting on Thursday, debate on the Investment Authority Amendment Bill 2017, is the government's legislative move to protect workers in the hotel industry and, by extension, the economy as a whole. The Prime Minister sought to set the record straight. This was not an attack on Sandals or its chairman Gordon Butch Stewart, he said, but an effort to respond to what he called an existential threat to the country. He insisted the truth had to be told, and so before speaking specifically on the legislation, he chronicled what he said were the exploitative actions of Sandals Resorts International. He noted the actions of the hoteliers in the industry have a significant impact on living standards since the tourist industry accounts for the lion's share of economic output.
I would rather be an ordinary citizen of this country than to be Prime Minister of a country of working indigents. And I want the people of Antigua and Barbuda to understand the commitment of this government. no matter how you see us individually, no matter how you may dislike us, I want you to understand our commitment to the empowerment of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. That commitment is second to none.
And he underlined what he had said earlier about Sandals' motivation for closing temporarily, only this time he had more certainty in his tone.
The closure of Sandals for 3 months, potentially 5 months, is an act of hostility. It is an act designed to extract additional concessions from the government of Antigua and Barbuda. It is a form of retaliation for the fact that a year ago, Mr. Speaker, we had to correct a gross inequity.
That inequity related to the ABST concessions Sandals had received under the previous UPP administration. The Prime Minister then went on to make statements the nation is hearing for the very first time. He zoomed in on Sandals' books, saying they have manipulated their accounts.
And I want to put them at notice that we reserve the right, I'm not saying we're going to do it, but we reserve the right to pursue Sandals International in court for manipulating the figures. This is Parliament. I'm speaking without fear or favor today.
Guyana's National Resources Minister Raphael Trotman is denying that the government is forsaking the gold industry for the upcoming oil and gas industry. Royden James of HGP Nightly News reports.
Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman has disputed claims that the government is focusing heavily on the upcoming oil and gas industry at the expense of the mining industry. He says that perception is far from the reality.
Statistics show that production continues to be on or same as it was in 2016. So the grounds that government is not aiding the industry, we're not seeing evidence of it. We know there are some frustrations.
Mr. Trotman said the magnitude of the oil and gas industry will demand some extra attention, but that does not mean that the government has forsaken the gold mining industry, which is still the country's largest revenue earner.
Indeed, oil and gas does get a lot of attention, and it's not that the government is necessarily placing that attention. I think the nation is all caught up, and rightly so, with the coming prospects of oil production in 2020.
Minister Trotman disclosed that he continues to ease the burden off of the mining community, but those activities are not made public. He said he recognizes the importance of the industry and therefore will do his best to not only keep it alive, but ensure those involved are treated fairly.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, a Cricket West Indies director is the new boss of the Barbados Cricket Association.
Ready.
It's another episode when we out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out of road.
Drink, drink, drink.
King Baba and the guitar. Hey, hey, hey. Every fat little boy keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, 'cause that's my babe. I don't understand how wearing a name tag on me. You know what to say, he's still calling me wrong.
Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
Join the Caribbean Broadcasting Union and its regional and international partners at the CBU Annual General Assembly, August 21st through 24th at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel in Nassau, the Bahamas, under the theme Digital Developments in Caribbean Media. Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Dr. the Honorable Hubert Alexander Minnis, will welcome delegates during the opening ceremony. Guyana's Minister of Public Telecommunications, the Honorable Kathy Hughes, will offer a keynote address on digital developments in the region. See the launch of the UNESCO-sponsored Manual of Social Media Guidelines for Caribbean Journalists, with guest speaker Jamaica's Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn. And hear from international media players about the new developments in digital television standards in Europe, the US, and Japan. And this year's Caribbean Broadcasting Awards Gala at the Atlantis Resort Paradise Island is not to be missed. Call 246-430-1007 to book your space in the 3-day conference and exhibition. Don't miss the CBU 48th Assembly at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel in Nassau from August 21st through 24th. Discounts on flights to the assembly on the official airline, Caribbean Airlines.
A Cricket West Indies director is now in charge at the Barbados Cricket Association. Conde Riley won a landslide victory in the BCA elections on Thursday night to become the association's new president in his third attempt to secure the top post. He got 284 votes to easily beat out challenges from former third vice president Erskine King, who collected 85 votes, and former first vice president Dighton Smith, who picked up 80 votes. Riley's elevation is widely seen as a boost for the embattled president of the Cricket West Indies, Dave Cameron, a close ally of the retired banker. An elated Riley said he was surprised but pleased at his overwhelming victory. Riley, who has served in various capacities at both the BCA and CWI, replaces legendary former West Indies fast bowler Joe Garner, who's now the senior Windies team manager. Lawyer Calvin Hope was elected vice president. He secured 170 votes to defeat former England Test batsman Roland Butcher, Maurice Gasking, and Kamal Springer. Another lawyer, Gregory Nichols, has returned as board secretary after winning the race with 172 votes. Meantime, a court challenge that was standing in the way of the Guyana Cricket Board holding its elections has been dismissed. An injunction had been filed by the GCB and other parties preventing the enforcement of the Cricket Administration Act, which is aimed at bringing about order in the administration of cricket and improving its governance and financial accountability. But the High Court has quashed that injunction. Claude Raphael, spokesman for the cricket stakeholders who had protested the Cricket Board's action, made the disclosure after meeting with Attorney General Basil Williams.
A document which showed that the challenge to the cricket law by the incumbent GCB personnel or personalities has been treated as abandoned by the judge because apparently since the Chief Justice's order of an injunction, there's been no proper filing of statements of claim and that sort of thing.
Former Chief Justice Ian Chang had granted an injunction preventing the whole of elections by the Guyana Cricket Board and its members until a substantive matter was heard. The dissolving of the matter in court was welcomed by East Coast President Bisoon Diyal Singh and former national cricketer Neil Barry.
I'm really happy that this has happened, and it is a long time now, and now that the way is cleared for free and fair and transparent elections throughout Guyana, this is something we are waiting for a long time, and certainly we all are very happy. And so just like to commend the Attorney General for his actions and so on, and so we will see how and where we go from here.
What I'd like to see, it's a proper working partnership between all stakeholders in the development of cricket and by extension our human resources in Guyana. Cricket is a sport which, as we all know, can be used to develop our young people. What I would like to see is a properly administrative board where you can have a trickle-down effect, where from the school level all the way up, there can be a clear and transparent developmental process, utilizing all the talents that we have to ensure that we can produce not only good or great players for Guyana and West Indies, but also very good citizens of our country.
The dismissal of the matter has also paved the way for the National Assembly to move ahead with the passage of the long-awaited Guyana Cricket Administrative Bill.
That report from Isan Griffith of Capital News. St. Lucia Stars have called up the New Zealand pair of Jesse Ryder and Mitchell McClenaghan for the Caribbean Premier League campaign beginning next week. They replace South African batting star David Miller, who is likely to be on tour with South Africa, and speedster Lasith Malinga, who could be called up for Sri Lanka's limited overs series against India. The 32-year-old rider is an attacking top-order left-hander who played the last of his 40 one-day internationals and 22 2020s for New Zealand 3 years ago. McKennigan, meanwhile, is a 31-year-old left-arm seamer who's turned out in 48 ODIs and 28 T20s, but he has not represented the Black Caps in over a year. But he did snap up 19 wickets for Mumbai Indians in helping them capture the Indian Premier League title earlier this year. The CPL, the region's premier T20 championship, runs from August 4th to September 9th. Reigning champions Trinidad and Tobago made a resounding start to their title defense when they swept Guadeloupe in straight sets in their opening game of the Senior Women's Caribbean Volleyball Championships in Jamaica Wednesday night. Playing at the National Indoor Sports Center, they raced to a 25-8, 25-17, 25-14 victory to send a stern warning to their opponents in the 8-team tournament, which also serves as a World Championship qualifier. Shannon Thompson led the scoring for TNT with 13 points, while the experienced Crystal Esdell supported with 12 and Sinead Jack 10.
TNT powered past Guadeloupe in 3 straight for the Bagel, and the ideal start to their title defense. The champs ran away with the first set 25-8 to sound a serious warning. They would take the second a less convincingly 25-17 as the French women fought back. But in the third, TNT again turned up the heat to secure that set 25-14 for the 3-0 win. Thompson led all scorers with 13 points, while Esdell added 12 and Jack chipped in with 10 for the defending champions. TNT will play the Bahamas tonight.
Meanwhile, host Jamaica also had a winning start to their campaign when they disposed of the U.S. Virgin Islands in equally dominant fashion with a 25-16, 25-18, 25-17 straight sets victory. And both Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago continued their winning ways on Thursday. Trinidad and Tobago beat the Bahamas 25-14, 25-9, 25-18, while Jamaica beat Curacao 25-20, 25-20, 25-21. In the other 2 games, Martinique beat Guadeloupe 25-23, 25-19, 25-13, and Suriname came out on top in their encounter with the U.S. Virgin Islands. And that's sports. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Who will be the next Miss World Bahamas? You be the judge by voting for your favorite contestant. Download the Miss Bahamas app or log on to MissBahamas.net. Subscribe to the Miss Bahamas Club. Click on to your favorite contestant and vote as many times as you like. Your votes help decide who makes the finals and takes one step closer to the crown. And on the final night, club members will help to choose the new queen. Make your girl's dream come true. Vote for your favorite Miss World Bahamas contestant today.
If you like dancing and whining and fretting till the morning, if you like drinking, masquerading, live music always playing, if you like islands of blue seas where people always smiling, if you like street jams and bandstands where people will be jamming, don't you miss this time, no. If it's Tottenham 43, our festival, our legacy, don't you miss this time, no.
60 years ago, we started greatness.
Now it's time to celebrate greatness. Antigua's Carnival 2017, July 28th to August 8th, celebrating great pageantry, mass, pan, calypso, soca, celebrating culture, celebrating the Caribbean's greatest summer festival, Antigua's 60th anniversary carnival, powered by Flow.
A recap of the major developments of this day. Spending cuts announced as the Bahamas government tries to fix a massive deficit. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to canonnews.com. We'll be back here again on Monday. But from the CMC News crew, thank you for joining us and have a great weekend.